Beneath the ground we walk upon, there exists a silent yet frenetic universe. A miniature world that operates with a precision almost impossible to believe. There live the ants, tiny beings who, united, form one of the most organized societies on the planet. Each colony is like a single organism, where thousands of individuals move in harmony, guided by an instinct that requires no leaders, yet never abandons order. Within these colonies, life is divided with perfection. There are those who defend, those who labor, and those who ensure the continuity of the species. The queen, the workers, and the soldiers make up the three main castes, and each has its role defined from birth. This rigid division, far from being a limitation, creates a balance so efficient that it makes the anthill function like a living machine, where nothing is wasted and every gesture has a purpose. It is curious to think that such organization arises from the chaos of nature. No ant needs direct orders, and yet all know what to do. They build, care, hunt, feed, and protect, driven by an invisible language that unites thousands of minds into one. What seems like instinct is, in truth, a form of collective intelligence, a mind fragmented into tiny bodies. This unchanging, disciplined social system is the secret of the ants' survival. The harmony between their castes creates something that goes beyond mere labor. It is a demonstration of pure cooperation. Each individual is an essential cog, and together they form a structure that challenges our notion of hierarchy. And at the center of this silent mechanism lives an almost mythical figure, the origin and heart of the entire colony. It is from her that everything begins, and without her, everything unravels. Thus, as we descend deeper into this small underground empire, we find the queen, the mother of all ants, and the vital center of this hidden world. Her body is larger, her presence commands respect, and her purpose is singular, to sustain life itself. While the other ants rush through the tunnels in search of food and safety, she remains in her central chamber, surrounded by caretakers who ensure her survival. There, in the damp darkness of the underground, she fulfills the most important role of all, that of the colony's mother. It all begins in an almost ritualistic moment. The queen is born with wings and once in her life performs the nuptial flight, an aerial dance where she meets males from other colonies. It is in that brief instant that the future of a colony is decided. After mating, she lands, loses her wings, and digs the first tunnel alone, founding the nucleus of what, in a short time, will become a subterranean empire. From that moment on, she will live only to lay eggs, turning her own existence into an unending cycle of creation. The eggs she lays turn into fragile larvae, cared for patiently by the workers. It is a delicate process. Each larva is fed, moved, and protected with the same devotion one might reserve for a precious jewel. From these tiny lives emerge new workers, soldiers, and even new queens, depending on the colony's needs. Everything revolves around her fertility. With every egg, she adds another link to the vital chain that keeps the anthill in motion. Curiously, though she seems to rule, the queen gives no orders. She commands no armies, supervises no tasks. Her importance lies in her existence, in sustaining the continuity of the collective. When she grows old or dies, the entire anthill feels her absence. Order begins to crumble, and slowly the colony collapses. And while the queen fulfills her eternal duty at the center of the anthill, life outside continues to pulse. In the galleries she helped to found, thousands of ants move in perfect rhythm, keeping everything in motion. It is in them that the true engine of the colony resides, the tireless workers who transform the chaos of the outside world into perfect order beneath the earth. Tireless, disciplined, and guided by a purpose that seems greater than their own existence, they work without rest, turning the chaos of the outer world into subterranean balance. Each one knows exactly what to do, as if an invisible code dictated every step. When they venture out in search of food, they travel immense distances compared to the size of their bodies. They follow chemical trails left by others, and when one finds a food source, she marks the way back with pheromones, signals that guide the rest with millimetric precision. The result is a living current, a moving line, where hundreds of ants march in perfect synchrony. None get lost, none hesitate. It is like watching an army of tiny biological machines, each performing its task with poetic exactness. But their mission goes far beyond gathering. They are the ones who care for the larvae, feeding them with a nutrient-rich mixture produced by their own bodies. They carry them from one place to another as the nest's temperature changes, protecting them like anonymous mothers in a society without individuality. In this endless routine, the notion of exhaustion does not exist. They work until the end of their lives, and when one falls, another is ready to take her place. What's most astonishing is that all of this happens without orders. No ant tells another what to do. They perceive, decide, and act, always for the benefit of the group. If food runs low, they reorganize their duties. If danger appears, they change their route. It is a spontaneous choreography where collective instinct replaces command, and the result is a harmony that rivals the precision of human machines. And while the workers ensure sustenance and care for future generations, other ants live for a completely different purpose. They are larger, stronger, and trained for combat. In the same tunnels where order reigns, war also exists, and those who lead it are the soldier ants, the true warriors of the underground. They are the guardians of a colony, larger, sturdier, and armed with powerful jaws. Each one lives with a single purpose, to protect. When the anthill is threatened, they are the first to respond. They march out in compact lines, forming a living wall at the entrance, ready to face any intruder daring to cross the sacred boundary of the colony. These warriors fight battles that seem like scenes from a miniature battlefield. They hurl themselves against enemies far larger than themselves, wielding the strength of the group as a weapon. Alone, one could not survive, but together they become an unstoppable force. They bite, cling, and fight to the very end, even if it costs them their lives. It is a collective instinct that knows neither fear nor hesitation. The sacrifice of one becomes the shield of the others. In wars between colonies, the spectacle is even more brutal. Thousands of soldiers clash in long, organized combats, surging in waves of attack and defense. The ants form front lines like disciplined armies, coordinating movements with no general in sight. When the battle ends, the ground is strewn with tiny bodies, and the victorious colony claims the enemy's tunnels and resources. In these conflicts, there is no room for mercy, only for strategy and survival. Yet the soldiers do not live by war alone. In times of peace, they help transport large chunks of food or heavy materials that workers cannot move. Their jaws, made for cutting and crushing, become tools of construction and logistics. They are at once destroyers and builders, warriors and laborers. And while the surface bears the scars of battle, the heart of the colony continues to beat beneath the earth. There, hidden from human eyes, stretches a living labyrinth, a subterranean city built with millimetric precision, where every tunnel, chamber, and curve serves an essential purpose. The anthill is not merely a shelter, it is a masterpiece of natural engineering. Its corridors branch out in precise directions, forming a labyrinth that ensures ventilation, refuge, and safety. Each chamber has a specific purpose. Some serve as nurseries, others as food storage, and at the center, well protected, lies the Queen's Chamber. It is a city without light, yet filled with purpose. The architecture of this living city is adaptable. When the heat rises, the ants open new passages to allow air circulation. When the cold comes, they seal the entrances to preserve warmth. They control temperature and humidity with instinctive precision, transforming the underground into a stable and comfortable environment for the larvae and the queen. Everything is done with efficiency: the layout of the tunnels, the size of the chambers, the angle of the entrances. Nothing is there by chance. What is most impressive is that this structure grows along with the colony. As new individuals are born, new tunnels emerge, and the city expands endlessly. The work never stops. There are always ants digging, transporting, reinforcing the walls with tiny particles of soil. It is a living construction, constantly evolving, a reflection of the collective discipline that keeps the system running. Within these corridors, the silence is only apparent. Pheromones drift through the air like invisible messages, guiding the behavior of every individual. It is this communication that makes the city pulse like an underground heart, coordinating thousands of movements at once. Nothing collides, nothing repeats, nothing is wasted. And it is this very secret language, made of signals, sense, and touch, that connects all the inhabitants of the anthill. A form of communication so precise that it needs no words, yet creates perfect harmony among thousands of beings. Amid the darkness of the anthill lies a secret that transforms these tiny creatures into true farmers. Some species have learned to cultivate their own food, creating underground gardens where carefully nurtured fungi grow. They cut pieces of leaves and chew them into a moist pulp that becomes fertile soil. There, the fungus develops, becoming the colony's main food source. It is a perfect symbiosis. The ants feed the fungus, and the fungus feeds the ants. These gardens are tended with the same devotion a farmer gives to his crops. Workers clean the chambers, remove impurities, and control humidity so that the cultivation is not contaminated by unwanted molds. If anything threatens the plantation, a chemical alarm spreads, and all mobilize to save their food. Nothing is left to chance. The precision with which they care for this agriculture reveals that their organization goes beyond instinct. It is a rational system in a natural scale. But their talent for forming alliances extends beyond fungi. In many ecosystems, ants establish partnerships with other species. They protect aphids from predators, and in return receive a sugary substance the aphids produce, a kind of sweet milk called honeydew. Some plants, too, have learned to take advantage of this relationship. They offer shelter and food in exchange for protection. The result is a network of cooperation among completely different beings, united by the simple logic of mutual survival. These partnerships show that the anthill is not an isolated world, but part of a greater system involving plants, insects, and even the soil itself. Each interaction strengthens the balance of the forest and keeps the cycle of life in motion. Unknowingly, the ants act as gardeners of the planet, fertilizing the earth, protecting seeds, and maintaining the flow of nature. And is this relationship with the environment that explains another fascinating behavior. When resources become scarce, the colonies do not wait for collapse. They leave. They carry with them the queen, the larvae, and the spirit of survival that has made them masters of adaptation. The ground that once sheltered thousands of lives begins to empty, and what can be seen is a living river of tiny bodies following a single destiny. At the front, explorer workers open the way. At the center, protected by hundreds of soldiers, moves the queen. The larvae and pupae are carried with care, like fragile treasures. None are left behind. Throughout the journey, their organization is astonishing. Each ant knows her role, and the formation remains steady, like an army on the march. They advance in long lines, communicating through pheromones and subtle touches of their antennae. It is a migration that can last hours, days, or even weeks, a complete displacement of an entire society. The colony dissolves only to be reborn elsewhere, showing that the true strength of these creatures lies not in territory, but in unity. In the new shelter, they start again from nothing. They dig, organize, gather food, build chambers, and restore the rhythm they know by heart. Change does not bring confusion. On the contrary, it is an act of refined instinct and adaptation. Where many species would see chaos, the ants see continuity. They mold themselves to the environment, never the other way around. Even in the face of predators, torrential rains, or extreme heat, they maintain the calm of those who trust their own structure. They observe, adjust, and persist. And it is this ability to learn from the environment without rehearsal that has made them one of the most successful species on Earth. Every challenge is just another step in a collective journey that never ends. And it is precisely from this silent harmony, this wordless shared wisdom, that something even more extraordinary is born, a form of thought that belongs not to a single ant, but to all of them together, an invisible intelligence that moves the group as if it were one being. They have no leaders, no command centers, and no complex brains like ours. And yet, the ants act as if they shared a single mind. Each individual decision, when added to those of the others, forms a system of collective thought, an emergent intelligence born from cooperation. Alone, ant is nearly blind and fragile, but thousands together can solve problems with a precision that defies human logic. When one finds food, for instance, she marks the path back with pheromones, and others follow the trail, reinforcing it until the most efficient route naturally takes shape. It is a kind of decentralized learning, where the sum of individual experiences creates an intelligent outcome. The same dynamic repeats itself when they build, defend, or migrate. There's no command, only synchrony. What seems like coincidence is, in truth, an invisible code of cooperation. In unexpected situations, such as floods or obstacles, they improvise. They form bridges with their own bodies, build floating rafts, and find alternative routes. There's no prior plan, only a collective reaction so perfectly tuned it seems rehearsed. Each ant responds to the environment and to her companions through subtle signals, and from that silent dialogue emerges an organization that borders on the impossible. This intelligence does not reside in any single body, but in the interweaving of their actions. It is as if each one were a neuron in a larger, invisible brain, pulsing beneath the earth. Together, they transform instinct into strategy, repetition into learning, and chaos into balance. The anthill, seen up close, is more than a shelter. It is a living mind, a testament that nature's truest wisdom lies not in the individual, but in the harmony of the collective. And so the cycle is complete. From queens to workers, from soldiers to farmers, everything exists for the same purpose, to live together. The ants remind us, silently, that strength does not lie in size, but in the capacity to cooperate. Beneath our feet, this small empire continues to grow, discreet and eternal, proving that even the tiniest creatures can hold the greatest of intelligences. To watch more documentaries like this, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the video that's on your screen.